back. It's James Diboe, your host on Discovering Season 2. We finished off Season 1. You know, it went well. Great reviews. You know, we learned a lot, discovered everything with different people, different guests. Now, we've got a guest on that we had on, it was the two vegans last time. Now, Abraham Ojapah has came on by himself, Yammtree. And I want to introduce him now because we're going to elaborate a bit more in the nutritional, also a bit more into African cultures and African-based, the connections with what he's doing in that. So first want to welcome Abraham Ojapah back onto the show.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure to be back once again. Yeah, I think we really went into it last time. But like you say, there was both of us on last time and we both had different varying degrees of knowledge, but yeah, it'd be good to break down some of the things from the points we went over and explore other ones. But I just want to say congrats on the season 1, man. Like you had some amazing guests on there.
Nice.
Like big up to everyone who came on. Everyone had their own piece of the puzzle kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
That's a pleasure.
Yeah,
and yourself, man. You know, the knowledge that you came on first time, you know, it's on my mind as well, and like it's. When you're going deep into the health, the traditions, the nutritions, I mean, like, where does, so see how we dealing with African-based?
Yeah.
Like, if you just started off briefly on, like, the connection with Nigerian particular dishes, is it more Nigerian-based, would you say?
Yeah, that's it. And I think with West Africa and you find across the equator, there tends to be, or in that belt, rather, there tends to be a lot of the plants are similar no matter where you go across the world. You'll have a lot of the same plants.
Right.
A lot of I think I was talking about palm trees and a lot of different types of yam that you'll find all across. And there's a lot of culture which is based on these foods. So really what I try and push with Yammtree is bringing it back to these foods which support our genetic makeup, which we thrived in, and I think I touched on it last time. It's like it's only when we go to colder regions, which is we're forced to eat other foods. Which
that's interesting.
Yeah, then we've got to kind of make do with what we've got. But yeah, I think when it comes to African food, one thing you want to support is the melanin. So to support melanin, you need vitamin D.
Yeah.
You need high copper foods, which is tyrosine. You need a lot of iron. And you find the more iron richer food is, the darker it tends to be.
Yeah.
When we're looking at plants, the dark green leafy vegetables tend to be higher in iron.
Yeah.
A lot of the seeds tend to be. So that's the real focus on bringing and vitamin C as well. You find a lot of the tropical regions.
Yeah.
I've got high citrus foods. You've got high vitamin C foods, and it's bringing it back to that really and trying to support ourselves and live the healthiest lives we can no matter what climate we're in.
Yeah. Do you eat rice?
I do occasionally, but I tend not to. Just because it's been highly hybridized over the years. It's been cultivated. And yeah, it's lost a lot of its properties. And I think with us, there's also inorganic elements in there. There's arsenic, which, as we know, was a poison. It's used as a poison for years. Rice tends to be higher than that. Funny enough, brown rice tends to be higher than arsenic.
I was going to say about brown rice then, actually.
It tends to be higher than inorganic arsenic, so it can even be worse than the white rice.
Okay.
That's why we tend to wash our rice a few times. Some people boil it and then wash it and then boil it again, kind of thing, to get rid of any impurities. But when we look at the rice itself, there's not a lot going on in terms of we could be having a lot more nutritional foods. Millet is what we tend to have and what we but to be honest, grains tend to be just a staple food when the fruits are out of season.
Okay.
I think originally we are fruitarians. We can get the fats, we can get the proteins, we can get the carbohydrates, all the vitamins and minerals through fruits and its seeds.
Right.
As long as we don't overconsume any fruit.
Yeah.
I think that's how we lived naturally going back thousands of years, and I think obviously we became dependent on certain types, and that's where the nutritional deficiencies come in.
Now, when you say West Africa as well, that's interesting because even though we have Nigeria, at one time, countries have shrunk, or it's all been chopped up, hasn't it? You know, so, but West Africa is very similar, the foods.
Yeah.
They are very similar.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to East Africa, say.
Yeah, definitely. I think with West Africa, you see a lot of similarities as well to the Americas. That's where you see some similarities there as well, especially with the yam and the I think across the equator you do find them similarities. With the flavors especially, we enjoy our heat, we enjoy our Scotch bonnets.
Yeah.
Interesting. Sorry, because I've mentioned Scotch bonnets, I feel like we don't really put enough emphasis on why they're called Scotch bonnets, and I think that ties in with our people as well. Like obviously they say a lot of the Irish and the Scots went over to the Jamaican and the West Indies, and a lot of people, especially when talking about slavery, a lot of people tend to say, oh, well, look at the Irish, they were slaves too, but
not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Not the same.
But not only that, a lot of the pale-skinned Irish wouldn't have survived. So a lot of the Irish who went over were actually melanated people too.
There was some also. When cause this topic's come up a lot lately. What you just mentioned about the Irish. I mean, of course, they've gone through slavery, but no one's gone through slavery like Africans have gone through it.
Exactly.
And I'll just give an example. There was some Irish who were slave masters.
Yeah, that's it. And I feel like it was the ones who were slave masters were enslaving their own people first. So enslaving the darker skinned Irish first, sending them to do the work, and a lot of prisoners. That's why you get the Scotch bonnet, and bonnet means a hat. So it's a red chili. So that's a red hat, and I think African peoples traditionally in Nigeria, the Igbo tribes, all the tribes tend to wear red hats. So if you go to Morocco and go across, you see the fez.
You call them fez, yeah.
But there's this real thing about red hats, and even when you look at a lot of the revolutions, there tends to be,
well, they got the Moorish Science Temple.
You
see them all in America.
They used the red hat with the tassel, and that's where the university cap comes from, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think when we're looking at different cultures, I think as you do anyway, you find them links, and I think the more you look for them links, the more you see it's like, right, okay, you can start to
it is about links.
See the culture.
It is about links.
And especially I think
trade.
Of course. And I think trade.
Supposedly, bananas came to Africa from either two places, Papua New Guinea, about 5,000 BC, or they could have come from Indonesia. Right. They're very close to each other, Indonesia and Papua New Guinea. I'm very surprised when I seen that. But then I looked into it and thought, well, Africans have just traded for we don't even know how far back we go. Yeah. And as far as even humanity, like I was saying with Ras Congo last time, humanity could be a lot older than what they let on.
Yeah.
It's all suppressed, all this knowledge, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think we traded because we had full autonomy over where we could go. Like we had control over the waters, and I think that's the most important thing, and it ties in with the Moors because more etymologically speaking ties in with water, and it's that control of the water to be able to move freely from place to place,
and the waters would have been a lot calmer the more further we go back.
Exactly.
Very rough now, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's this myth of I think you've spoke about it before about black people not being able to swim and that, and I think that was a myth that was put on us. But when you go back, like we've been traveling the water for God knows how long.
And then you can go even deeper into it, where some of the people were chiefs. Sometimes if you're dealing on a spiritual level, they felt that it's good luck to ride with the chief.
Yeah.
On a spiritual level, like he will get you there safely. It's going beyond what we science can comprehend.
Yeah.
When we dealing with spirituality.
Yeah, definitely.
So I mean, when I was in Fiji and I stayed in a hotel called the First Landing Hotel.
Okay.
And they have it like a shape of it's like a golf course, this grass, but it's actually the chief's left foot, a massive left foot.
Okay.
I didn't even get it. I thought it was just a golf course or something first.
Yeah.
So he's explaining to me about the chief stepped out with his left foot, and it's the First Landing Hotel because that's where he first landed.
Wow.
So he was explaining how important it is to be riding with the chief, the leader, the one with the wisdom, the knowledge. But it can be very difficult to explain things to people, especially in this modern day.
Yeah.
People don't take things too serious. I mean, you might say religion, they understand that.
Yeah.
But when we start dealing to deeper sacred science.
Yeah, that's which is spirituality, isn't it? Yeah.
Because funny thing with spirituality, I was having a good conversation with a Nigerian man on Instagram.
Yeah.
And he was explaining that it's sacred science what we should use, even though spirituality is the right way to say it, but Europeans have misused the word.
Yeah.
You're getting everyone saying the spiritual now.
That's it.
You must see that yourself, isn't
I
it?
do, and I think the ones who claim spiritual, I think mostly, and it's all a pretense. There's a lot going on underneath, and
That's
I think
right.
they're trying to push this front of being spiritual.
Yeah,
I believe that the most spiritual being on the planet is the melanated woman. So
that's right.
if I see any spiritual groups that don't have that element, I don't trust it. I'm just sorry, I don't trust it. You know what I mean? Whether that's a church, whether that's a mosque, whether that's a
you're dealing with the matrilineal system, matriarchal.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's like when I was mentioning on the show with Raz when I was explaining it, Runoko Rashidi. I wanted confirmation of him about Africa and Sumer.
Okay.
Because of this, this verses where which one is older, but it's obviously Africans because of the matrilineal system.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of history in Africa, like we were talking before. We had a conversation with Chase about the Sahara Desert.
Yeah.
So when we look at these great structures around in Egypt or whatever we're looking at, they could be older than what they're letting on.
Exactly.
And a lot of things are being ignored on the Sphinx, like the water erosions. Were these built in grasslands or like in when there was a lot of water?
That's it. And I feel like water is essential for life. And even, touching back on Nigeria, what's interesting, because I remember you asked me where my dad's tribe's from.
Right.
And I explained, and I didn't really go into it, that his town is like on the river confluence where the river splits into two. And what's really interesting is when it comes to control of the water, the British actually set up in Lokoja. They set up the first their first post and to say that we are established as a community in Nigeria was at this river confluence. So clearly they understood the importance of controlling the river and how the river is essential to how a country operates and how trade operates. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
And I think
my tribe lived near the river, Ijo, Delta State area.
Okay.
So we were good swimmers.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, if you're near like rivers and lakes or anything, you know, you learn to swim.
Exactly. And I think this is why this city, Liverpool, is so important. I mean, it comes from because we're at the River Mersey. And again, the Mer, the MER is related to the water, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which again relates, if you go far back enough, relates to our people. So I think my granddad was on and he was explaining about us being here way back, black people being here way back. There was evidence of black people being here way back. So it's like, how long have we been here in Liverpool? Who knows? But I know we're always people associated with the water. And it's funny because we're probably the most dehydrated people. Funny enough, because I've been doing some studying recently, and we're supposed to be 70% water, but water molecules are so small that numbers, because a lot of water can fit in that 70% of space, that number is probably closer to 95% water. So we're very dehydrated, and it shows because we be addicted to sugar, salts, caffeine. And these are all signs that you're really dehydrated and you're missing that life essential force that you need. You're feeling sluggish, so you need sort of stimulant to pick you back up.
I drink a lot of coffee sometimes.
Yeah, no, we all have that stimulants that we have, whether it's caffeine, whether it's sugar, whether it's salt, even the same.
Yeah.
But it's all because we are dehydrated as a people, and like water is essential to liver health. It's essential to ridding the body of eliminating toxins.
Yeah.
Melanin. It's essential to move things freely through the body and to flow freely. And I think when it comes to nutrition, it allows the body to use its nutrients more freely. And to where you don't feel like you have to.
How long have you been a vegan for, Abraham?
I've been vegan for, I think, at the end of 2016. That's when I first went into veganism. And then or the beginning, I can't remember.
So was it a process getting to that point?
Yeah, because it was a process. I think that's why I can't really remember, because I think from like 2015, that's when I started reducing.
Okay.
I come across Dr. Sabi.
Right, yeah.
I come across Dr. Layla Africa.
Okay.
Who recently passed during COVID. I don't know how he passed, but these guys explain the importance of water, and even Dr. Layla Africa says that you should only drink water up until 12 because you're still in the cleansing stage of between 4 a.m. and 12, and then from 12 to 7, that's when we should be eating and get all the food in then, and then from 7 till 4 again, it's a cycle. We should be in the repairing stage.
What about people who do fasting?
Yeah.
Do you notice anything with the vegans, or whether it was in ancient times or modern times? Is there any kind of fast that you do?
So I think naturally, because if you look at any animal, if the animal's hurt or the animal's sick, no matter what food you give them, they won't eat it.
Yeah.
Even some dogs, I think dogs eat grass because the grass helps them throw up. So a dog will naturally eat grass when they're sick to help them throw up everything that's there, so the body can cleanse. So their body can no longer focus on breaking down food, but just focus on breaking down the toxins that are in the body. Do you know what I mean? So naturally, as a way of cleansing and to making sure we are healthy, fasting should be implemented. And I
agree with that.
I have fasted. I don't fast a lot, but it's something that I've started doing more and more this year, especially.
Well, funny enough, we're talking about fasting. Us as human beings, we're no different than the earth in some ways.
Yeah.
And like example, say people are growing crops. There's supposed to be a time after so long where let the land, give it rest.
Yeah.
The same with us. I've read a bit about that.
Yeah. I think then they'll switch the crops over so that it's not, because some plants tend to take a lot of minerals from the earth.
Yeah.
So then they'll I think it's called nitrogen fixing.
Okay.
Plants and that takes me to hemp, because hemp is naturally a good plant to have around because it's good for the soil.
Okay.
And plants that are good for the soil tend to be plants that are good for us as well.
Right.
For our soil, for our bodies and our matter. I think it really ties in. And again, what you're saying with the cycles, I think, spring, now we're coming up to spring, this is the time to drink more and more and more water. We should be drinking, because a lot of people say, oh yeah, I drink a lot of water and end up weeing it all out, but that's because your body's so used to not holding that amount of water.
Yeah.
So you do weigh it out, but the more you go through it, you can. But I mean, Dr. Sabi said you should drink a gallon a day, which is 4.5 liters. Wow. And if we're going by 500 ml bottles, which a lot of people have, that's 9.
Yeah.
And so that's like roughly about 1 hour.
Do you know when we talk about how much water you're going to drink, you think if you're from different parts of the world.
Yeah.
If you're from a hot region, I can imagine you're going to need more water. So see, like England's kind of a cold climate. Okay, we're coming into spring now and that. But what do you think, do you understand what I mean? Like where a hotter region, you would definitely need more water.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's why you do tend to find a lot more vegetation, which does have higher amounts of water.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think with the climate and that, and vitamin D tends to help. Vitamin D tends to help the liver more, and it tends to help. It's all tied in. It's really all tied in, the nutrients, and there's a balance, and I think that's what it is when we talk about nutrition and who needs what, we need that balance. So vitamin A and vitamin D have that balance. So that's why you find a lot of African children suffer from vitamin A deficiency because they get so much vitamin D.
Yeah.
So now you need that balance between vitamin A and vitamin D.
Also, there's like two questions I've had of a guest, Michael, his name was. He was interested in knowing what is the most nutritional food known to man.
Yeah.
If you could answer that in any
I'd
way.
say, in my opinion,
First question.
My opinion is hemp seeds.
Hemp
seeds, they're so nutritionally important.
Okay.
They've got all your aromatic amino acids, tryptophan, tyrosine, phenylalanine, not as much, but got the others. It's got in zinc, it's got in iron, it's got in protein, more protein than most plants. I think pumpkin seeds have got more, but it's got a lot of protein and it's got a lot of omega-3s.
Okay.
So you don't need the fish. You can just you could essentially live off hemp seeds. Use the hemp leaves in your salad. You're getting your CBD there. I know there's a CBD craze.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say hemp seeds, literally. And they're grown across the world. I think China's the largest producer of hemp seeds.
Okay.
But that's the most nutritionally
interesting.
Yeah.
And another question there, I'm into visiting tribes all around wherever they go. Are you aware of any tribes that still practice a vegan or vegetarian diet?
I'm not aware.
In modern day or in the past or anything? What your knowledge is of that?
I'm not aware, but I tend to look on how vegan a country is. So how vegan. So I mean, I know Germans are known to be meat eaters and whatever else, but they're actually quite a vegan country still. Like they got a lot of options for vegans. They're onto something. I mean, they're the ones that are producing all our cars and all our medicine. So I think they know a thing or two about science. Yeah. Israel as well. That's one of the most vegan friendly countries. I mean, if you just look at the countries, how vegan a country is, and you'll see it'll be related to the longevity. But as tribes, I'm not aware of any. Yeah. And I've known traditionally carnivorous tribes tend to have short lifespans. Do you know what I mean? I think
right.
Yeah, that's a lot of the tribes. I think that just solely depend on meat. Tend to have higher rates of heart disease and everything else. I think the Inuits, as they say, they survived on a lot of just mainly carnivorous because they live up in the Arctic region.
Cold, yeah.
But a lot of them, if you look at the data, a lot of them suffered with heart disease as well. They weren't living long. They were able to survive because the human body is a fascinating piece of. It's not our body, and again, we just control the flow of it. It's not our body. It goes back to the earth, and
see when we're dealing with health as well, because obviously stress is involved. There's different things, but like spiritual health is also very important as well.
Definitely. And I think it ties in definitely with physical health. It's
mental health.
It all ties in, and I think we are under there's spiritual warfare going on. It's been going on for years. But that ties in and that affects what we eat. Yeah. So now you're saying, you've got to drink the blood and eat the flesh of Jesus Christ. Like what? Like that's pure cannibalism. Like just call it what it is. You're drinking red wine and eating bread. But if you survive off that, see if you can survive off that, and you won't survive very long. Yeah. What you should be eating is the bread of the earth, and if you're drinking blood, the only thing you should be drinking like that is water. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it all ties into the importance of African history, like we always do. We're discovering new things all the time, whether it's health, culture, anything in the past history, so you definitely tie into that completely. Yeah. And relating what you do into Africa, particularly Nigeria. Yeah. Have you always been able to cook food, or where did you learn?
I'd say I learned. It's funny enough. When I was in school, I went to big up Shawfields Technology College. I went there. There was a science teacher, Mr. Broddle.
Okay.
R.I.P. He really got me hooked on science. Got me hooked on. I was fascinated by chemistry, by the elements. Right. And then as I'm progressing through school, I done cooking instead of the other DT. Good. I done cooking instead, and I really, really loved it. I was bringing in my own spices, herbs we were growing in the garden. I was bringing in them. So I've always had a passion, but being such a science student, if you go and tell a Nigerian parent, oh yeah, I'm more into cooking than anything, it's like, nah, it's law, engineering, or medicine. Like, there's no two ways about it. It's got to be them. So really, I kind of left that on the back burner and thought, I can do cooking at any time. It doesn't really, it's not going to be something for me. So I tried the whole uni route, and it wasn't for me. Obviously, I was meant for a different purpose. So that's when I come into cooking. When I first entered uni, I was cooking for all my flatmates, but them times I was a meat eater, so them times I was cooking chicken and making them student meals, that student budget, making it taste like fine dining. Do you know what I mean? So I've always been into it, but now when you tie it with the nutrition, I feel like anyone who cooks for you, man, should be like the pinnacle of health. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like it's like you're gonna cook for me, and how do I know that food's nutritious? Okay, we've got to make sure it's clean as well. We've got to make sure there's the hygiene rating, but making sure that new food is nutritious, that's where we've kind of lost that link. And I think obviously when it comes to businesses and all of that, they want to make profit, so it's the cheaper products and everything else. But I think when we use things like hemp seeds, man. I went to cookery school for a little bit, but I discovered that it was all about how well you could cook meat, how well you could cut up a chicken, how well you could cut up a fish. It was all basically how well you could, in my opinion, sacrifice animals. So it was like, what about ingredients? Why don't they teach us more about what's actually in the ingredients, the chemistry? Okay. So when we look at hemp seeds, it's chemical, how much fat it's got. Right. How much protein it's got. That's gonna relate to how well it cooks. Of course. And what structure it's gonna hold when you cook it, when you apply heat, when you add water to it. Which is why when you do cook it, you do get some of them meaty flavors or umami flavors from it. So I started kind of merging the two of being my love for science and my love for food, and I think that's how I got to where I am today. And I think just my love for researching. I'm constantly researching, and when I finish this, I'll probably be on my phone researching. Most people, I mean, I've replied back to messages as well, but I'll be researching in between and that. But yeah, like.
Well, you know what I always pick up on, one researcher recognise another researcher. Yeah. You know, when I was even first met you that time in the Renault Rashidi event, I just clicked with you straight away.
Nah, of course.
You know, before I even knew you had Yammtree or anything like that, you know. Sometimes you can connect to spirits.
Definitely.
When I've gone places in the world and I've connected with chiefs, tribal leaders, different people, and then they feel comfortable to bring me in. Yeah. Because that's one thing, you know, you got to find like-minded people.
Of course,
that's what research. Because there's one thing being a researcher when I travel, but I'm a soul searcher.
Yeah, no, I like that. I
search for them lost souls.
Yeah.
They're not lost souls until you find them.
Exactly.
But they're out there. There's like-minded souls.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like it was a mutual thing. When I seen you, someone had already spoken your name before. Katrina had already said, "Oh, you need to link up with James."
Oh yeah.
And
I was in the Pan-African group with her.
Yeah. She was like, "Nah, you need to," because we were having conversations. She's like, "You need to link up with James." And and it was only when I seen you and we connected, and I think it was a spiritual thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, boy, because there's this big war on health at the moment, I mean, it is time to link up and form a defense against what's happening right now. Yeah. I mean, air pollution is killing our people. Dehydration is killing our people. Boy, bad nutritional advice, which has been funded by the pharmaceutical industry, by the food industry, the egg industry, all these big lobbying industries. I mean, now you can't even call vegan sausages. I think you're not allowed to call vegan cheese anymore. there's been all these laws that have been coming through to where they're trying to get people back on the animal-based products.
Yeah.
That I'm noticing, and it's like, yo, there's a real war against melanin that's happening. Like,
I definitely agree with that 100%. You know, but we have to get back to that true self.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, we're discovering new things all the times, and we need to, you know, do our own research. Yeah. That's what we need to do, you know. But you know what? It's been great having you on, though.
Yeah,
and,
man,
you know,
appreciate it.
Anytime you come on, I look forward to it. So,
man,
you know, it's a pleasure anyway.
Yeah, definitely,
and, you know,
definitely. Thank you.
And we're discovering new things. I'm your host, James Diboe.
Yeah.
Season 2, and I'm happily proud to have Abraham Ojapah
likewise, man.
back on the show again. So we're going to be out with this one.
Yeah.
Peace out anyway.
Love, man,
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
God bless.